welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Tanya Thompson, transformational coach and creator of the storyboard method, and we'll explore with her about how retaliation and gaslighting in toxic work cultures reshape identity, and how the deliberate act of reclaiming your voice becomes the catalyst for true invention. We'll talk about all this and much more. Welcome to the show, Sanya.
Thank you, KJ. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Tanya. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe uh, will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll learn from your story, and we'll also learn from you how one can rewrite their story. We'll talk about all this. But before that, let's learn a bit about your journey, your background, your story, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Absolutely. Great. So, thank you again for having me. My name is Tanya Thompson, and I am a executive and leadership coach. I do transformation work, and I have a varied background in law enforcement. I spent 12 years in working in prisons in the state of Nevada. I spent several years in probation, working as a coach, working with probation officers, coaching them in evidence based practices. And then I also spent several years monitoring grants in the state of California. And even before that, I have time as a social worker, time as an educator. I spent time as a teacher. So I have a wide background that exposed me to all kinds of environments and all kinds of processes and systems and protocols and strategies. And I've been able to take all of that and studying and practicing in my own life, I've been able to create a framework to help myself first be able to move through some of the challenges that I was navigating in my life around the toxic workplace and just wanting to create a life that worked. And I've been able to do that. And that is what I am now sharing with the world. And let me be correct, I'm not done doing it. I'm actively in the process. And I am sharing as I am discovering the things that have been at least working for me. I've been sharing as those breakthroughs have been happening. So that's who I am. That's kind of where I come from. And I guess the other thing I would love to add is that I am writing my first book. It'll be out really soon, within the next maybe month or so. And it is called Beyond the Vision Board, using the storyboard method to picture and produce your preferred reality. And so that book will be out soon, and it will go over the framework and the work that we do around this transformation and healing and reclaiming our voices.
Absolutely, Tanya. Thank you for that. To understand it, the question is that how were you able to do it? From a system, former public service administrator. So, how does a toxic workplace look like? We have heard about it, people face it, but they only know about their experience. They don't know about how others' toxic workplaces look like. And when you talk about, public service administration, then is it the same as in the government, if I understand it that way, as well as in the private sector? Help us understand from both these aspects that you must be knowing very clearly by now.
Sure, thank you. So, retaliation, what it looks like, it can look very differently depending on the situation, the circumstance, and the particular environment and the particular people involved. But what is clear is that if you have asked for, or if you have challenged a rule, asked for clarification, asked about your work or something to that effect, if you've made a complaint that conditions aren't fair, and then all of a sudden you start experiencing things that maybe don't quite seem right, the gaslighting, the management staff will begin to make it seem as though there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. They will create reasons for you to doubt your own knowing. And it comes in these little subtle back doors, a challenge of an idea, a dismissal of a conversation, things like that will start to show up more and more frequently. When you start to find yourself shrinking back, navigating by always biting your tongue, thinking 2 or 3 times, second guessing, third guessing, fourth guessing yourself, that's when you can start to say, oh, this is probably not a good environment. I need to really look at that. So a retaliatory toxic workplace can look different for everyone, but those are typically what they look like, especially if you're in an environment where people are, where the management does not appreciate or accept, I'm going to say, creativity or innovation. And so when they want the staff to just agree with whatever directives they give out, they don't want to answer questions for clarity or why or things like that. Those are the managers that you'll start to see most typically are the managers that generate or create these toxic work environments. The type of management who is opposed to being told no or being challenged with new ways or new innovations. So does that answer your question, KJ?
Indeed, indeed, Tanya. So, why is it so? Is it because they are less efficient? So they always say yes to everything and want everyone in their team to say yes to everything? Is it because there is something else beyond that? That they know that nothing will change because they also could not change earlier on in their lives, and they want their lives to be peaceful and do
Mm,
not want the younger joinees to create hurdles knowing that nothing will change?
mm.
Or is it something else? You call yourself working white black. I want to understand from that perspective. I don't know what it means, but I want to understand it from that perspective also.
From the perspective of my Working While Black platform.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. So from the lens of Working While Black, the the toxicity, the retaliation, the experiences are shared through the lens of me being a Black woman and what I have personally experienced, coupled with the history of Black people in America and the history of Black people in the workplace. And so that's the lens that I am using. And what it is that allows managers or whatnot to then decide to create that kind of environment, well, that's going to depend on who that manager is. But some of the things that I've seen is insecurity. The manager is insecure about their own competency in the job. And so if they are not secure in what they're delivering, then they don't know how to receive feedback when someone is saying, challenging or bringing innovation to their particular ideas. They don't like to do things differently. They like to stick with the status quo, especially in public service. It's like constantly swimming upstream. It's really difficult to be innovative in public service when you have structures that are so invested in keeping the status quo. The old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, that type of thing. It has its places, but not in toxicity. If things are toxic in the work environment, you definitely need to get about the business of fixing it, because it's definitely broken.
Absolutely. So, what's the solution to it? Is it that one can fight for some semblance of, sanity for themselves in that sort of a workplace, or it's futile? One should move away from such a workplace. How did you handle it? Did you fight it out and wanted to stay because perhaps you like the work, or did you find it that it's not working, it will not work because it never works like that, and you moved out? Help us understand from your mindset. A lot of people think, resilience and all these things and fighting spirit, and we will change the world, let's change the world. It sounds all good in paper, but not in practical environments, when the environments becoming themselves are hostile, and people are finding, benefits in keeping a live, a hostile environment, either in public workplaces or in private workplaces.
Hmm. Absolutely. Oh, that's such a good layer of questions, because there are several in there. The first thing I will address or tackle is the question about how did I overcome it, or what was it? Is it worth fighting, etc.? You know, I had three public service experiences that dealt with some level of retaliation, harassment, hostile work environment. And deciding whether or not to fight it or not fight it is really it's an internal decision. It's going to be different for each person. And when someone is deciding whether or not it's something to stand up for, to fight for, to advocate for, it's going to be really independent and based on that person's internal strength and resilience capacity, as well as their support system. You really, it is a heavy lift. I am in the middle of it. It is a heavy lift to oppose an employer, particularly a government or public service employer. And it is it is important, it is critical to have a support system, a network, to help navigate the transitions. The first thing that you want to be able to do if you're deciding to stay and fight or not, being in the want to change the world, because I want to change the world, right? That's why I do what I do, because I do want to change the world. And whether or not that is the exact route to take, again, is an independent decision. But I do believe there are circumstances and situations where the employment space is appropriate to challenge where these things are showing up, especially if the system is operating in integrity. The experience that I had when I brought up that these behaviors, this retaliation and harassment was going on, the system did not honor its agreements to be fair and equitable, to do the things that worked for the employee, because the manager was clearly retaliating, but none of the systems held that in regard. So if your system is going to hold up, then it's absolutely worth pushing back and standing up. And even if your system does not support or does not uphold or show up in integrity, it's still worth standing up, particularly if you can have a system of people or a collaboration of people who are willing to stand up to the management team together. That's what'll make the biggest difference. And the things that you need there is you don't really even need the confidence. A lot of us get stuck in, oh, I'm not strong enough, and oh, I don't know how to speak, or oh, I don't know what to say or do. But none of that really matters. What matters is that you have to know that what you're experiencing is not right. And when you are that committed that this is not acceptable for you or any other human, that's where you know that you have a stand to take. And that's where you get to go ahead and say, yes, I'm going to plant my flag here, and we're going to push these buttons, and we're going to do our jobs to contribute to the shifts in humanity in the workplace, and even in our personal lives, because it spills over.
Absolutely, Tanya. So I want to understand, which world are you changing? Are you trying to change the world of those very people who are everywhere in almost every country? Bureaucracy, they will never change. The mindset will never change. They will always so called stick by the rules that they interpret themselves, never go by the rule book. How would you ever change that? That has been the same thing since the ages. Or will you, are you working towards changing the real, the world where real people exist, who want real change and who want to, really make their lives impactful and different than the workplaces that we are talking about?
Wow, that is the best question I have ever heard. And the question I'm talking about specifically is, you said, whose world am I changing? AJ, I don't know if you know how spectacular that question is, because that is the question. Whose world am I changing? And at the end of the day, I'm changing my world. When I change how I relate to a situation, when I change how I relate to myself in a situation, then I'm able to change the world. Because when I give space to be authentic and to reclaim my voice, then I'm able to give someone else space to do the same. One, because I get to model for them, oh, well, this is what we're going to do instead. And two, they then get to experience having access to that type of experience themselves, that it doesn't have to be XYZ. But it starts with changing my world. How am I seeing, right? What story am I telling? What story am I living in? One of the best ways I explain this concept is that as a Black woman, coming through the lens of a Black woman, I used to carry the front running story was, this is happening to me because I'm a Black woman. But what I began to realize when I took off those lenses, when I started to tell a different story, this is happening because this is how the system is devised to work. This is happening because people like me get to have the opportunity to change that practice or shift that protocol or eliminate that policy, right? So when I change my world first, I can give other people access to shifting their world. That was such a beautiful question. Whose world are you changing? Because
Thank you.
I can't control anyone else. No matter how much good I think I can do in the world, people have to choose for themselves what change looks like. And so
Absolutely,
by
Tanya.
changing my world, I changed the world. Yes, sorry about that. Go
Absolutely. So, share with us how are you doing on the ground? Share with us about the storyboard method. Share with us about the upcoming book Beyond the Vision Board so that people can learn as much as possible from the world that you are trying to change.
Absolutely. So the method that I use is the storyboard method, and it is a 3-act framework, is the way I like to explain it, where we look at your current reality, your preferred future reality, and the barriers or the obstacles, what's in the way. Excuse me. And the distinction that I help us live inside of is we learn to look at not just what's in the way and then we create a checklist of goals. No, no, no. In the framework that I've created, the way I use it in my own life, I take my current reality, I create the preferred future reality. This is my vision. This is what I'm looking to have and my have, do, and be. I'm sorry, be, do, and have. And then I look at what's in the way, not for the purpose of saying, oh, I'm going to do this and do this and do this and make those things not be in the way, but I'm going to look at who is it that I get to be on the journey, because that's what we're going to focus on. Who is it that I get to be? So when I started focusing on reclaiming my voice, that's what that's about. It's about deciding what story am I living into? What story am I allowing to run the show? Am I allowing the story of the victim of toxic work culture, or am I reclaiming my voice and telling the story of a woman who overcame a toxic work culture and is now thriving? I like the latter personally. So that's the one I work with.
Wonderful, wonderful. And about the book, when you said it's coming into the in next month, what can people learn from your book?
What you'll learn from the book, yes, it's currently in publishing. Actually, the publisher is waiting for my edits. And once I send the publisher my edits, maybe within a couple of weeks or a month after that, it'll be available in stores and online. And what you'll get in that book is you'll get the framework. You will understand, you will get the exercises to walk yourself through your own storyboard transformation. And what I like to share is the storyboard is what I call the perfect marriage between the vision board and storytelling. And so you're not just pulling images and creating a vision board, but you'll absolutely create one. And it's also about being really clear on the story that you are telling about the preferred future that you are creating. So that's what you'll find in the book. And we also talk about how to not just create the preferred reality, but how to actually live it.
Absolutely. There is so much to learn about all this from you, Tanya, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn from you, uh, want to be your client as a transformational coach or a speaker, and also learn from your book. What's the best way for them to do so?
The best way is to visit my website at www.levelupcoaching.info, info, or to email me directly at Tanya, Tanya, at levelupcoaching.info. Those are the easiest ways to get in touch with me. I'm also on LinkedIn, um, and you can find me on YouTube under the Working While Black platform.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.